Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 104 of the WatchRolling podcast. The WatchRolling podcast is a veteran-owned podcast that focuses on horology while sharing valuable resources with the watch enthusiast community. My name is Jason. I'm your host. If you're new to the pod, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Episode 104, I'm going to get straight to it. It's an episode with Bo Almeida. Bo's a Air Force veteran turned independent watch dealer, and I really don't want to bury the lead. It's a great interview for anyone that's interested in possibly having a career in entrepreneurship. Either before you get out of the service or after you get out of the service. I think this will be a great interview for you to listen to. Bo brings a lot of knowledge and just offers a lot of insight and context into basically starting a whole new career from scratch. And it's one that's close and dear to our hearts, which is an independent watch dealer. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Welcome to the show, Bo.
What's up? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you too, man. And it's been a long time coming, and especially it's always nice to get a fellow veteran on here, and especially one that's been successful in business, because I think that's a great thing for a lot of our audience to watch, because a lot of our audience are either veterans or they have veterans in their family. So it's always good to be able to share a success story, then kind of hear, from the horse's mouth from someone that's also a watch enthusiast and a watch dealer, and a veteran. So I think that's cool. So before we get started, because I have a horrible habit of forgetting to the wrist check. You're the guest of honor, so I'll let you go second, because I feel like it's more important. So I have on my Omega Planet Ocean.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Yeah, 8500 series from 2013, my retirement year watch.
The best.
It's been getting a little honeymoon phase, but as it would, but
it's never gonna
tomorrow,
end,
tomorrow though is going to be the Panerai. Got to wear the Panerai tomorrow.
There we go.
That thing's just chef's kiss, the Panerai.
Dude,
they both are though.
That's still the one for me, man. I love a Planet Ocean, but titanium Panerai, dude, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, it's you have to put it on to truly.
I tell everybody this.
Understand, appreciate that. But what do you have on your wrist, Bo?
This is a special one because it's a special day. This is one of my favorite watches of all time. This is the late '90s Longo 1, full yellow gold with the champagne dial.
Wow,
these are just wonderful, man.
That's beautiful.
This is peak to me. I know there's way crazier stuff at way higher dollar ranges, but it's hard to beat one of these, man. And I'm a Panerai guy at heart, but this is a special one for me.
There's something about gold with the right leather straps too. It's just it's like a perfect There's just something about it, and I haven't really gotten into leather straps yet, because I feel like that's a whole nother rabbit hole, and I don't want to run that yet, because I still got to get a bracelet for my titanium Panerai.
Yep.
So I'll cross that road when I get to it, but
it's a long
I don't
road.
want to get to it, man. It is a long road, man. And I know people that make leather straps too, and I got some buddies that are breaking in and making their own, so it's kind of cool to see. But just the amount of work that goes into a leather strap, I mean, to get a really quality one with the details like you would expect, it's a lot of work. But yeah, well, great watch, man. Thanks for sharing it. It's the first Longa on a WatchRolling podcast. So that's something. I think
I'm
so.
honored, man. This is special.
Yeah, it really is. And I think my Panerai was the first Panerai on one. But anyways, so let's just get into it. Just tell us a little bit about your background and introduce yourself to anyone that's not familiar.
Yeah, man. Bo Almeida is my name. I am from New Jersey. I was born in '99, grew up in the same house until I joined the Air Force when I was 17, so right after high school. I was a geospatial intelligence analyst the whole time, so I started off doing FMV, like full motion video on MQ-9's systems, and then for like my sunset year, I was over in Denver doing OPIR on the satellites. That was pretty cool. It was a nice, like, slower paced mission. Worked with a lot of Navy folks, actually, which is dope. And yeah, it was awesome. I got out very recently, actually, January of 2025. Had a lot of fun in the military. Thank you, man. Thank you. It was a good thing for me, I think. We'll get into it, I'm sure, during this hour, but it was just kind of time to transition out. Like, you kind of get that feeling. But yeah, outside of work stuff, I mean, I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. Those are my things. That's kind of where I'm at if I'm not in the office doing the watch thing. I'm training somewhere. I used to like lifting weights, but not so much anymore. Like, I mostly just train to stay fit. But that's me, man.
Got a great wife. Strength.
Yeah, got a great wife, Bria, man. She's on her way out of the military too. She's just got her medical retirement approved, which is awesome. So you're gonna be a veteran household pretty soon. It's pretty cool.
Well, you got any questions, just don't hesitate to reach out, because I have plenty of resources and know plenty of people that can answer questions, because sometimes sometimes the stuff you get in the mail is worded kind of funny. So it's always nice to have a resource out there that's been through it.
I'm going through the VA thing too, so you'll be hearing from me. You'll get a text.
I got you, bro. Whatever you
Thank you.
need. Whatever you need. Well, that's a great introduction. I think it's I just love how the wide variety of the jobs that my fellow vets that come on the show. They're just everybody's done a little bit of something that's a little bit different everywhere. And then you just realize just the breadth of the jobs that are out there in the military and just how um many different people from different backgrounds in the United States come to do these cool jobs. You know what I mean? Like, I was just a firefighter, but I always thought, man, it'd be kind of cool to like, be working with drones and stuff like that.
That's funny because I wanted to be a firefighter, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that was one
It
of the
was
ones on my
fun.
list. Yeah.
It's fun. In the Navy, it's more maintenance than anything. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So, real quick, how did you get into watches?
And I feel like I was always into it, especially it started after I joined the military. So I always had like a little Casio or something like that in high school, but then after got into the military, that was like my first real job, so I thought I had money at that point. They started
Yeah.
giving me actual paychecks direct deposited, and I'm like, all right, well, what can I blow this on? And then I found on Reddit, it was like Reddit Watch Exchange, and it was just basically like a forum where dudes were just selling watches. And they kind of sold like these like modded out Seikos that looked like Rolexes, and they
Oh
were
yeah.
right in the budget. You know what I mean? They were right at like $300, $250, so it was perfect just to blow a whole E1 check on on a couple of these
Nice.
things, and then just sell them and lose my ass in the future because I was like, oh, I want a different color. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
nobody's paying a premium for these modded watches. But I
Yeah.
think I give it a lot of credit though because it kind of gave me the bug, which I
Oh
appreciate.
yeah. That's a difficult pill to swallow when you first get into watches and you realize that no one's really interested in your modded watch
Yeah,
on
I
the
thought it was so
secondary
cool.
market.
I'm like, yeah. I was like, what do you mean you're giving me half of what I paid? Like, this is
You're like,
sick.
bro, this is a cool watch. And they're like, sorry, man. And
Like,
because I
yeah,
have a
that's
buddy
great,
of
bro.
mine. Yeah, I'll link that video at the end of the video, but I have a buddy of mine, Joe. He's at Say Coded on Instagram. He does great mods. And he modded I have a WatchRolling MM200 mod,
That's
all
sick.
silver, great
Yeah, you showed me that
ghosted
thing.
bezel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's wonderful, man. He makes great stuff. And so that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Like you think leather straps are a rabbit hole. Seiko mods are a rabbit hole that's been around 20,000 years before I was around. That's awesome. So was there a particular like watch or moment that really sparked your passion? Like did you run across something or have a small moment in time?
It wasn't one like particular watch, but I just kept seeing these like Vacheron Constantin
Yeah.
watches. And for me, I've sold a couple of these now, and they're so incredible every time. It was the Blue Dial 4500V non-chronograph. So just the standard overseas 41 millimeter Blue Dial in steel. I was just like, dude, like the bezel mixed with the bracelet, just how it all kind of like meshed together in like the perfect like design to me. Like just kept seeing them listed for sale, and I was like, God, like way out of my budget at that point. You know what I mean? But I was just like, oh, dude, I'm like, that's the one, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to get like one of those. So I just kept seeing them, and that's what made me kind of like just want to go after that a little bit more. Wasn't until like years later that I started selling watches, but that was
Yeah.
always like in the back of my head. I'm like, God, I want one of those things like so bad. Like
Yeah.
they
No,
just look so sick.
I think it's interesting because I feel like, I've met quite a bit of dealers and I feel like the best ones were watch enthusiasts first. And I think that they have a really grounded understanding in the hobby and what people are looking for and what people want. And they know that there's like movement people, there's design people, there's both people, there's,
Saying both people,
heritage
man.
people, there's
Yeah,
brand name people. And I think they're better able to like, service their audience or whatever you want to call them, their
yeah,
people they sell to for
absolutely.
that. Did your time in the military influence your appreciation for watches in any way?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I was definitely in the cult. I'm still in the cult of the Watches of Espionage. I think we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about him. You follow him online? Like the
yeah,
sketchy dudes wear Breitling. So one of my
yeah,
first ones was a Breitling because I was like, let me see what this is all about. Like let me actually try it for myself. But yeah, it was a lot of the dudes that were in my unit weren't like big watch guys. So I was always kind of the only one, especially after I started the business, that was wearing like I guess like an intentionally bought like timepiece, you know what I mean? But it was a cool way to kind of like just talk to people about it that who otherwise wouldn't be that into it, because no matter what the budget is, there's cool watches at every like dollar point.
oh yeah,
But yeah, seeing
definitely,
seeing it online like that with the watches espionage and like just actually once you start wearing them, you kind of see them just more out in the wild. I'm sure you've noticed that too. Like you're just out like, hey, that dude's wearing a Omega, whatever, or that
yeah.
guy's wearing a
Cars are the
Cartier.
same
That's
way.
pretty cool. Yeah, same thing with cars. Exactly. Like, oh, I want one of these cars. You see like 10 of them. Like, okay, you know what I mean? So that was cool. But I always kind of gravitated towards the military stuff. That's where I kind of fell into Panerai too, as like the
Yeah,
one I mostly sell.
yeah, and it's interesting. Panerai is the one brand that I just didn't run across a lot of them, and the ones I did were the super polished ones.
Yeah.
And I used to tell myself, if there was, but that's how you've been around for a large part of the curation. So I got to the point to where that's what I want. I want more brushing than polish. That's just my style.
Me
But I
too.
have plenty of friends who have wonderfully polished watches and they're cool. But it's just not for me. I'm too broad, man. I bump into stuff too much
Yep.
and,
Exactly. Me too.
the polish would get jacked up.
Polished stuff is
And
cool, I think, for dressing up,
yeah,
but if it's something you're gonna rock around every day and actually like use, I'm all about the brush. Because if you need to get it rebrushed, it's super easy. Just all the scratches are gone.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's pretty classy.
Yep.
So do you remember the first watch you ever owned? And if so, do you still have it?
Oh, hell yeah. I don't have it, and I'll tell you why. But it was a Timex Easy Reader 40th anniversary, white dial, stainless steel, on like a really nice brown leather strap, similar color to this one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sell it because on these forums that I started selling on, you had to like build up your reputation with like every time you do like a transaction, you could like confirm it with the person you sold the watch to,
That's
and you
cool.
get like a little +1 and then a +2 next to your name, for however many deals that you had done. So I was like just scavenging around. I was like, God, I'm sorry, dude, I gotta sacrifice you. You know what I mean? Because it was an inexpensive enough piece. I put it up, I think, for like $60, and someone bought it. It was like a good kind of practice to actually deliver a good experience.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just like take the watch and like put it in a FedEx box and send it. I was like, let me bubble wrap it. Let me like, what I mean, neatly pack this thing and put it in like a. I bought like a off-brand presentation box on Amazon and like try to make it like a nice little thing for somebody. And the dude was like, "Damn, dude, like paid you like $60 for this thing. You didn't have to do all this crap." But in my head, I was like, "All right, cool. I feel like I did him right." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was good practice now for like because that's kind of obviously the expectation for selling more expensive stuff. So I had
Yeah.
to sacrifice that one for the feedback on the forum, but
Hey man,
it was
$60
worth it.
for a +1.
That's what I mean. I
It's an
was doing
investment in
anything. I was
yourself.
selling little straps. I was buying
Yeah.
straps that I would no plan on wearing. I was just like, $10, cool. Give me a
Yeah.
+2, so people trust me a little bit more in the future.
Yeah. It's an investment in yourself and your
Yeah,
business,
that's what I mean. It had to be sacrificed.
And you know what? I think that matters, man. Details really matter. Customer service really matters. I feel, you know, full disclosure, I've purchased now my third watch from you, but I've always wished I'd had a local dealer. I really did. And I wish I had someone that was, would take the time to help you curate something and pretty much, because we can do research on our own, but like if I'm not a watch dealer, I'm not going to have the sheer number of watches go through my hands that you do. And I can go like this thing here. Like if you go on Google, if you go on YouTube and search for this reference number, all you get is the white numeral one, the James Bond one. That's it. No one except for like two people I saw with like 5-minute videos ever reviewed this watch. So for me, I have what I had in my wristwatch annual from 2013 and those two 5-minute videos. And then the Omega website, which they keep their watches up forever. If you can actually find the reference number, you can find them, right? But I think it's just it's great to have that resource because you're patient and you listen to questions and you answer them, and like you're generous with people's time and stuff like that. So it's just like I've told people all the time, if you can find a local dealer that's like that, by all means you should do that because or even one that's not local but is responsive and is appreciative of your time, because it makes the whole buying experience so much better. Like you know what I mean? It's hard to explain. Like I don't want to be coddled like a kid, but like it is cool when you can have conversations about this stuff and communication. You're like, oh, and then someone shares a resource with you, because knowledge I always feel is the best thing you can give someone, especially when you don't charge for it. But this is my 2 cents.
No, dude, that's real. Could we stay on that for a second? Because
Yeah,
I think that's important. You know
by
what I
all
mean?
means.
That's why I kind of do it like this. Like as far as like, I never want this to grow to a point where I can't do like a one-on-one thing with somebody. You know what I mean? Because I think that's so important just because of what you said. Like, yeah, dude, I do buy a ton of watches. Last year we sold it. I forgot the exact number. I think it was 241 watches, like just were sold last year. And it was just like,
Nice.
that's obviously a lot. Like, and it's gonna be more this year. You know what I mean? It's thankfully getting busier, but it's like you can't like really replace the tangible experience. You know what I mean? Because every watch comes through my hands and is like tested by me, pressure tested, movement tested, actually handled. Does the bezel rotate the right way? Does it rotate both ways if it's not supposed to? You know what I mean? Like, and you actually try and rock every watch at least once, like wear it for a day just to see like the real world. Like, hey, is it keeping good time? Did I miss any little scratches on the crystal or something like that I only see in sunlight or something like that? And with that, I think that gives me a lot better of an advisor position to actually talk to somebody from experience of the item. You know, like I always make the analogy of like a car dealer, right? Like unfortunately, if you go to like say a Ferrari dealership or a Porsche dealership, the salesman you're talking to might not have experience with the item. They might have it in the showroom, you know what I mean? But they are not like purchasing them with their own money and actually
Yeah.
like owning the item and using the item and experiencing the item. So it's like I feel like I need to do people the service of like, hey, this is like my honest take on this watch. And I've like talked people out of buying shit from me.
Yeah,
Excuse the cuss. I mean, I
you're
talk
fine.
people out of buying some of my watches as far as like, hey, dude, like if this is what you're after, like if you want something that will wear with a dress shirt, you know what I mean? Do not buy this 47 millimeter Panerai from me. It's not going to work.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just not going to do what you think it's going to do, you know? And I noticed that people appreciate that a little bit.
yeah. No, I think, and it's true, man, because it's like we always discuss it on the show in my other buddies' podcast, where like once you get, like the micro brand circuit, independent brand circuit, where you're going to the shows and you get to talk to the brand owners. I mean, that's the same thing. It's like having the same relationship with the dealer, because your time is valued and you're getting some insight. And and sometimes you run across a brand that doesn't really, you can tell like whoever's working the booth that day isn't like with the brand. They haven't worn the watch. And that, I had a buddy of mine, I always tell the story. We went to wind up in New York in 22, and he was really excited about a brand I won't name. And he was new into watches, and he would have bought one from that brand, but the person working the booth had no idea. He's like, I know more about this brand than they do. And he had been only into watches for like 3 months. So I think it very much does carry some weight. And I think it's good, because I appreciate it. So, oh yeah, no worries. How did collecting watches evolve into this business though? Like, how did being a watch enthusiast morph into this?
I think I just got tired of like losing my ass on on the ones that I was buying. So I'm like, surely there has to be a better way, you know? And I do have to give credit to this community that I found online. It's called like Watch Trading Academy. So it's like basically like a Facebook community of just dudes who are like doing this as like a
Mhm.
business. And the cool thing about it is like you do it online mostly, right? So it's like some people go and make stores out of it and like have actual physical locations, which is awesome. But a cool part of it is like the flexibility of it is like, hey, as long as I have like a FedEx that I can ship things, domestically and internationally too. Obviously, my computer, my phone, and like I use the photo booth and stuff like that. Like you can make this really work.
Great pictures, by the way.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. Yeah, that's my main thing. I've been working on for like years is getting a good photo. But yeah, there's a good community of folks who are actually like doing it, and I stumbled upon it, and I paid a little money. I paid like a couple $100, bought into the community, like got access to that group to talk to everybody and stuff. Like, hey, is this for real? This isn't like a scam. You guys are actually selling watches. And they're like, yeah, yeah. They recommended like, hey, start with Omega, start with Bell and Ross, right? Like certain brands that are like widely popular, that you can try and actually make some money doing little quick flips. But seeing people actually do it and like, oh yeah, I quit my job to do this full time. I was like, bullshit. And they're like, no
Yeah.
way, you're gonna do this selling watches full time. Like, get out of here. And it took me a while. I lost money on my first couple watches, and I was like, yeah, this sucks. Like, I'm not gonna do it. So I stopped for a little bit, and then tried again, and actually made money on the third one. And I was like, made money like $100, and I was like,
Nice.
wait a minute. I just made $100, like can we do more, And then I started falling into the kind of the Panerai groove, and that was what made me. That was a good flow for me, It was like making enough profit that I was happy to stick with that brand and just learn about that and really dive deep into it. But yeah, after I started like actually making a profit off the watches, even a little bit, because I was still in the military at the time, so my expenses were covered by my job. But I was like, cool, I'm doing this on the side. This is fun, like this can evolve past like just buying watches and selling them at a loss, like
Yeah.
we can get better at this.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue into the next section where you transition from active duty to an independent dealer. But I think it's a great point that you bring up that you started this before you
Yeah.
actually got out, right?
Yes.
And that's something I always tell people, like, whatever it is that you want, like, man, I preach it because I didn't do it. So, well, I did, but then I got injured, so I couldn't. So I always tell people, if you know that you want to be X when you get out, and whether that's you retiring or whether that's you just separating, whatever, you need to figure out just how difficult it is to become X. And then you need to adjust accordingly to where you're ready the day or as close as you can be, because we're never really truly ready, but you can prepare yourself as much as you can be. So the day that you walk out, you can just, jog on into that new thing you want to do, especially if it's something drastically different than just being, military affiliated. Cause, for me, for my job, I was always a defense contractor, and, now I have my other job, but it's like, I always wanted, that's always been my thing, and it's like, I always joke that I don't have any really discernible talents other than that I'm tall and I don't give a crap. Um, you know what I mean? And I don't mean like, don't give a crap in a bad way. I mean, like whatever, you want me to do something, I'll do it. You know what I mean? But what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in making that career?
Dude, it was like just getting out of my own way, man. Like my own kind of mindset and like the fears I had about like kind of just giving up everything,
Yeah.
because like the normal path for a dude like me is like, hey, bro, you've been doing Intel. I was in for 8 years when I'd gotten out, so it was like, bro, you've been doing Intel for 8 years. Your clearance just re upped. like you get out of the military and you get a contracting job as a intelligence contractor for whatever. You could work for NGA, you could do FMV still, you can do whatever you want, but like that's it. Like your only option is like use your clearance. Everybody for years told me use the clearance, use the clearance, use the clearance. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like I don't like this job as much as I did when I was like 19, 20. You know, I was like, it just wasn't something I really saw myself doing. So that made me like realize I need to get out of the military. And then it was like, okay, dude, I don't want to just get out of the military and then go right into this contracting job. And they're like, oh, you'll make 6 figures. But if you do the math on like your military entitlements and stuff like that, it's kind of the same pay, except you're just not in the military anymore. Maybe you're making like 10K more a year, which is like, who cares at that point? You know what I mean? Like practically what you're actually putting in your pocket, you know? So I was just like, dude, there's got to be another way, man. And then I kind of fell into the watch selling thing like 2 years before I was getting out. So like right at that point where I started selling like really seriously, opened up my LLC and stuff like that in January 2023. And I was like, all right, I got till January 11th, 2025. That's when I'm getting out of the military, like for sure. Like I just signed like my extension to go to Colorado. And I'm like, that's it. I'm not re-enlisting. I'm not doing any of that stuff. So like the hardest part of that transition was like when there was like only a year left. And I was like, dude, I was like, oh God, you know what I mean? I'm like, I still suck at this. Like, shoot, you know what I mean? Like, am I really ready? You know? But I think the best thing I ever did was just like keep my head down and just keep learning the lessons as quickly as I can and just forcing it to work for that next year. From that January 2024 until I got out January 20, like, because when January 2025 came around, I knew I was like, I'm good. I'm getting the hell out of here, and we're good. We're gonna do this full time. This is gonna be awesome. But asked me a year ago, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting out of the military, you know, because they let you re-enlist up until like the last day. They're like, hey, if you want to stay, man, you could stay, you know.
Yeah, you can
But
come in like Friday afternoon at like 1500 and
yeah,
enlist if you want to.
like, hey, I changed my mind. I'll do another 4. They're like, here you go, you know. And I hated that. I hated having the option all the time. So in my head, I had to just constantly like train myself of like, there's no option. Like you're getting out. Like lock in. You know what I mean? You have to make this work and you have to get out. And you know what I mean? Practically, I didn't have to do that, but that's what I kept telling myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's your plan, I mean, can you expand a little bit on learning the lessons as quickly as possible? Because I think that's a trick you either taught, and I don't mean a trick in a bad way. It's a trick you're either taught or your brain has the ability to pick that up. Like, I got X amount of time, so I need to go F up as much as possible now, and then actually take stock of what I've done and then correct it.
Yep.
Can you give any insight on that?
Absolutely, man. That's one of the like my favorite lessons that I've ever been taught. And I was taught it in like a fighting context. So my Muay Thai MMA coach, Joe Allen, he's local to here, Newport News. Awesome dude.
Shout out, Joe.
Yeah, shout out Joe, man. He's not a watch guy, but Joe's a great dude.
You should be, Joe.
He was training me for the Muay Thai fights I was doing at the time. And I would have like this bad habit of if I got like caught with something good from like my opponent, if I got punched in the face hard, or if I got kicked in a good spot and it hurt, you know what I mean? I would like get upset and it would mess up my mindset for like the rest of the round. Like I'd be like sitting there like just you could tell I was like dwelling on it and just pissed off, and I wasn't throwing my punches. I wasn't like loose. I wasn't doing what I needed to do. You know what I mean? So he would always say like, hey, short memory. Like, and he'd pull me aside after, be like, dude, you need to like just learn the lesson. Like, hey, you got punched on this side because you didn't have your hand up. Keep your fucking hand up. That's it. Like that's the lesson, and move forward. And I was just like, okay, like, and that was something that I just always tried to apply for anything in business. So you're gonna have like if you're gonna run a business, if you're gonna have a job and not run a business, you're gonna have setbacks that you need to figure out. You know what I mean? But it's kind of on you to like learn that lesson quickly and just unemotionally make the fix and keep going. Like, I don't know, as an example, I sell a watch to somebody in the beginning and I wasn't very good at packaging the watch. So they got the box and they sent me a video and it was like, and the watch is flopping around in the box because there wasn't enough bubble wrap. And I was just like, oh, dude, like, I'm sorry. Like, is everything okay with the watch? Thankfully it was. Like, didn't need like a service or anything. And if it did, I would have paid for it. You know what I mean? Like, make it right with the guy. But instantly I was just like, hey, unemotionally, buy some bubble wrap on Amazon and have a pile of bubble wrap ready to make sure. So now if you buy a watch from me and I ship you, we do local stuff, but if I ever shipped you the watch, you would take the box from FedEx. It feels like it's going to explode because it's so like tightly packed and there's no sound, you know, because I learned the lesson and just fixed it going forward forever.
Yeah. I think that's important.
And that applies to anything.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to realize, like, don't let the seriousness of the situation outweigh the plan you already have in place to execute, right? Like, if your thing is to learn the lesson, okay, cool, it happened. Like you said, don't be emotional, move forward, solve the problem. You can do that with anything. You just have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, like, was it a big F up? Well, if it was, yeah, you can still fix it if you just take the 5 minutes to do it and then remember it, right? You learn the lesson, you remember the lesson, you don't dwell on how you felt from that lesson. You move past it.
Yeah,
You can make it right. So, did
100%.
anything in your military experience prepare you for running this business? If so, what?
Yeah, definitely, man. A lot of intel was like talking to people, like doing briefings and things like that. So that helped when it came to like getting on the phone with people and just kind of like explaining and actually knowing how to prepare to explain something to somebody. Like so every watch I would buy, I'm sure you know who Tim Mosso is.
Yeah, dude's
Like,
best.
dude, Tim Mosso's yeah, we've talked about him a bunch.
Yeah,
Never mind, what
straight
am I
up
saying?
gangster.
Yeah, Tim Mosso's awesome. I love that dude. But every watch I would buy, I would watch Tim Mosso's video on it. So now, like, as an accidental product of that, I kind of talk like him when I'm explaining a watch to somebody. But it's fine because Tim also has like the best way of explaining watches to
Yeah.
people ever. So it was made it easier to
Yes.
convey that. And if you know me, I'm not like a hard seller of like, hey, are you willing to put a deposit now? Are you ready to check out? Like, no, but I would just like passionately and genuinely passionately, like, because I would watch Tim Moss's video and get like fired up, like, dude, I just bought this watch, like, this is sick,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
thing's badass.
I feel validated when I buy a watch and then I end up finding it on Tim Masso's video later. I'm like, oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna love this
man.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, dude,
Yeah.
this thing, I bought the Longa One. I watched Tim Moss's video and he's like drooling over the Longa One. I'm like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, this is my favorite watch
Yeah.
ever now. But I would have that kind of conversation with clients, and they could feel the passion in it. But that I think started in the military as far as like briefing stuff to people. And then, any military guy will tell you like the attention to detail that they teach you, I think is a
Yeah.
good thing to keep, because every little tiny little thing matters. And if we're talking about mistakes, I just made one this week and it pissed me off because I sold a guy a Panerai and it came with everything, but I forgot to pack him like the rubber little bezel protector that comes with the watch.
Yeah.
And he's in Canada, so I'm like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, damn it. I'm like, dude, and he's a friend, he's cool. And I'm like, but
Yeah.
he doesn't care, by the way, but
Yeah.
I do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Dan, I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm either gonna send it to you with the next watch or I'm just gonna ship it to you overnight. He's like, dude, he's like, just send it to me whenever. He's like, I don't care. I'm gonna wear the
Yeah.
watch on my wrist without it. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but it's like the attention to detail that I miss. And I'm like, shit, dude, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's
No,
my
I
dude.
know
I
what you
can't do
mean,
him
man.
dirty like that,
I know what
But
you
that
mean
came
because
from the military too.
yeah, I do the same thing, man. And it's like, damn, like you do 100 things right and then you do one thing wrong. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like people that have buddies of mine that are interested in starting podcasts. And the first thing I tell them is, listen, if you forget to say something, don't worry about it because nobody knows that you forgot to say something. It's you and your script. No one knows. You could have left out a whole paragraph. No one's going to know. You know what I mean?
I'm not
But
gonna call you. Yeah.
if it's on your face and you're like, because my last
Exactly.
podcast episode I recorded, I had messed up something, whether it was the microphone or something twice, right? So I come in on that episode when no one knows it's my third take. And I'm actually mad at myself and I nail it, bro. Cause I'm just like,
Nice.
this is freaking ridiculous.
You're
You know what I mean? I
forcing
shouldn't
it.
be
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? And there's like a tone in my intro where I'm like, oh man, I hope this doesn't come across.
Yeah, I feel that, man. My content's like that too. If I'm messing up a whole bunch, I'll leave in. I try and cut out all the ums if I take a really long pause. But if I stutter and like correct myself, I leave it in there, man. Like keep it real, dude. Like I always want it to be like that. No matter where you deal with me, like you're dealing with me. Like you're buying a watch from me. I'm a dude. I fuck up. I make mistakes. My content's gonna show that too. I'm gonna be like, shit. Excuse me. This is actually this.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean
I think
because
that's real.
I've been working on writing like I speak. Because everyone tells me I'm a great, I don't know if I'm great, but you know, I know I'm much better at speaking than I am writing. I know how to write, and obviously I have degrees and stuff, but I'm working on writing how I speak. So when I talk about watches, I write how I speak. So you're getting it the same way instead of trying to be someone I'm not while I'm writing. I'll just be myself, but write properly. If that makes any
I like
sense.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, were there any resources such as programs for veterans mentors? I know you talked about the watch program on Facebook. If you want to enlighten people on that a little bit, or like personal things that you did for yourself that helped you along the way to get to this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can talk about the watch thing a little bit more too. It's a good community, man. I think a lot of the stuff on the internet, as far as like, there's a whole culture of like dudes who just sell courses for like BS, and then like mastermind groups like that. I think a lot of it gets a bad rap, but there are some like really good communities out there that come with like a paywall. I mean, there's a buy into the community, but there's actual good people in there doing good stuff. And I think that the Watch Trading Academy is one of those. Like, great group of dudes, just a lot of people in there just trying to get better and like doing real ethical entrepreneurship, which I think is cool. Sure, we're selling watches, we're trying to make money. I do this full time. This is my only source of income now, right? But it cannot be sacrificed. The ethics cannot be sacrificed. You know what I mean? You have to take care of your clients, and that's what that community is all about, which is really cool. Another good one like that, it's called the Arte Syndicate. So it's a group from like Andy Frisella, who owns First Form Supplements, and then Ed Milet, who owns a bunch of other businesses. It's just another kind of like mastermind group full of entrepreneurs trying to run different businesses. This is not watch specific. So there's guys that run supplement stores, they run car washes, real estate businesses, whatever.
Oh,
But
wow,
just kind of pouring, sharing ideas and stuff like that. They do coaching and things like that.
that's
So just
awesome.
kind of getting around people who are doing either the same thing like with the watches, which is cool, but you don't want to be like too much of an echo chamber, and then talking to other people across like different industries, right? Of like, I'm mostly interested in talking to people who are in like customer service kind of careers, right? Like supplement stores or running a gym or something like that. Like how to give someone a really good experience with your product or service,
Yeah. No,
and
because
just
I think
talking to a lot of
customers.
people like that.
No, you're right. Because I think customer service is important, but I do think it's way more important in some industries. Like I think,
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like a gym's
thousand
one
percent.
thing. If you've ever worked out, you know a crap gym when you see one,
Yeah,
right? There's
absolutely.
nothing worse than a machine being broken for like 3 weeks,
Yep.
and or the place being kind of dirty, or like everyone that works there thinks they're too cool for school. They're like people that worked at craft breweries in 2018, 2015. They have handlebar mustaches and wearing way too much plaid. It's like, and they're looking down on you because you're ordering an American IPA instead of a double you
Yeah,
know 125 IBU. Sorry, I'm going on
that
about
was
beer.
specific.
You're very
That was
specific.
a lived experience right
It's
there.
like, oh, you only like 35 IBU IPAs, you peasant. It's like, come on, man. Like, come on. I'm not trying to burn my nose off my face. Anyways, but yeah, I know what you mean, and I think that's great to be around that because I always tell people, if you want to actually do, if you really want to do something, you'll be around people who are doing it successfully, and it's up to you to vet them. It's up to you whether you think they're reputable or not. Obviously you make the decision, but you have to be in that room. And sometimes you have to force yourself into that room. Sometimes you have to take a bet on yourself, and that's pay a little fee or whatever you want. And I, because, that's a whole nother story for another day, but I've done the same thing and got myself in rooms. And it's because I either force my way in or I kill them with kindness, one of the two.
Yeah, man. And dude, honestly, you can do both. The big important thing was getting out of just like my military unit every day, which is cool. Great group of dudes. I have a ton of love for them, but it was like I wanted to have like different conversations. I wanted to like figure I'm having this specific problem and I can't ask these dudes that question because they're just not doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's no shade or anything like that. It's like, hey, I'm just working on something else. I just need to talk to folks who are like doing that. So you get, like you said, force yourself into that room, and then it just made life so much easier because now I have a whole like network of people that I could like call on for like weird issues. Not even issues, but just like situations of like, hey man, I bought this kind of watch. Do you have a client for this? I don't really have anybody who buys these. It's like, oh yeah, dude, how much? This much. Okay, I'll buy it. Okay, I'm glad I know you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Thanks.
it's like instead of me having to do all this work on the back end, right? You kind of just know people. Or if I need even little stupid stuff, I need an AP box because my AP box I dropped it and it broke. Like know who to text and I could just get that. Or if a client has an issue, like, hey man, I need this really weird Patek Philippe whatever service. Like, do you know anybody who would do it? Yes. Like, I'll just give you his number. Here you go.
Yeah.
But I
And I think
wouldn't have
that's a,
known those people.
no, no. And I think you're onto something there too, because I think it's a lesson you learn in the military once you get past certain pay grades to network like that. I don't think it's something that's taught well
Definitely.
enough there's too much tribalism in the junior
Yeah.
pay grades, and where it's like, oh, and now in the Navy it's different. Like the bigger ships, it's like that. It used to be like that. The smaller ships, not so much, because there's only like 300 of you, and everyone gets to know everybody. But it's more of a lesson you're taught once you get to be a little senior to network. Like, hey, if you need some, if you pick someone's brain about this, you get that. But I feel like it's an important lesson to really network, and those people become resources. Now you gotta reciprocate. You have to be available for people to help them when they need help too. It can't be all take, take, take.
Yeah.
But if you have a good
Absolutely.
network, that's a great thing to do. Hey, so do you have a milestone or like a big win early on that made you feel like you really had not really so much made it in this business, but like you were okay? I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I'm glad you didn't say made it because I'm like, I'm still looking for that
Yeah,
one. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm still just like very brand new at this, and I try and keep that mindset of just, hey, let's learn every day. But I've had a couple times where it was like, I think to me now it's like just undeniable that I do this. Like and it was a phone call like with my dad at one point because he was like, they never said it in the beginning because I just randomly was like, hey, I'm gonna start like selling watches. Like, what do you guys? I made the mistake. I was like, hey, what do you guys think? And they were like, we don't think anything. You've never sold a watch. Like, why would we think anything? And I was like, in my head, I was like, all right, fair point. Why would
thanks.
you believe I was going to do any of that? Because I never did it before. Yeah. But then it was after, I think I was like a year and a half into it. And we were just bullshitting on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I'm dealing with this issue. I'm trying to sell a watch to this guy, but he's like back and forth. And I'm trying to figure out like how to just get him to be like, hey, I want this watch. Like, I'm missing something. And dad's like, he's like, oh, how much is the watch? I was like, yeah, it's 42 grand. And I figure out like, what's the issue here? And he was like, did you say 42 fucking grand? And I was just like, and I took a second to step back. I was like, yeah, I did. I was like, I sure did, man. So then after that, it was kind of just like, yeah, dude, I just do this, man. Because I think I was not giving myself enough credit while I was still in the military. Like, because at that point I had decided that I was getting out, but it was still hard to let go of that identity of like, oh, this is like a little side hustle,
Yeah.
like, and then after that point, I was like, yeah, dude, I do this, because then I just looked back at like the month prior to this, and I think I had sold like 25 watches that month, which is the most I'd ever sold at the time, and I was just like, all right, but this isn't like an accident anymore. Like you're not just accidentally selling crap
Yeah.
because your price super low or whatever. It's like, no, there's actual value here and people do appreciate it. So that was just like a confidence milestone for me as far as like, I feel like I very rarely take a step back to like smell the roses, so to speak, of like,
Yeah.
wow, look at all this stuff that we're creating. This is really awesome. Another really important one for me was when I gave mom a job. My mom had like just quit her job that she like hated for the last like 20 years. And she's just at the point where she didn't want like another BS job.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, dude, I'm like, I hate doing this part of the business. Could I please hire you? Like that would be an honor, And she was like, fuck yeah, dude. So now her and I, we talk every day, and now my little brother is helping me with some like Instagram content stuff too.
Yeah.
So little stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's so much bigger than anything else I do. Where I'm just like, dude, I gave mom a job, and I gave my little brother something that he could do and make some good money for himself. You know what I mean? And I'm paying them more than what I know other dealers are paying their assistants, because I don't say they work for me. I don't say they work with me. You know what I mean? Like these are my folks. You know what I mean? So it's like that shit made it super real for me and like just awesome. And it keeps me honest too, because I'm like, I got other people that I have to take care of now.
Yeah. It's real accountability, man.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
you
So good.
can't, I always joke, but people, man, I'll tell you what, especially lately, but you can't have you can't have leadership, without accountability, responsibility. You got to have that. And it's definitely a motivator. That's awesome, man. You know what I mean? Like,
That's the
that's
best
awesome. And
to
your
me.
mom's like, I'm stoked to do this,
Dude,
kind of
and
thing.
she's fired up. I'll hit her up at like, if I'm really slow behind for the day, I finish editing pictures like 9:30 at night. I'm like, hey, whenever you can get to this, like I'm not in a rush. Like if you could just get these listed for me, that'd be awesome. And then I'll get a text like 20 minutes later, hey, done. Have a good night. Love you. I'm just like, you didn't have to do it now.
Like,
But she's just a warrior, bro. She just does it
yeah.
like instantly. And I'm like, shit. All right, thank you.
Well, it's crazy too, because like when you have some stock in the game, i.e., your mom obviously has stock in the game, right?
Yeah.
It it does not work.
Dude, this ain't work, man. Like
It ain't.
sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a lot.
Yeah.
I hate packing watches. So packing watches to me is
Yeah.
work. Like I gotta pack a lot tomorrow. But
Dude, I hate
it is
selling
fun.
watches. I mean, I don't hate selling them. I hate making sure everything's perfect to get them
Yeah.
out the door.
There's a lot of logistics.
Jeez, man,
There
I
is a
hate
lot.
logistics,
There's
bro.
a lot of logistics to do it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could
Shout
easily
out to
just
all
throw
the
it in there and send it, but
Yeah.
to do it
Shout out
right,
to
I
all the
think it's tough.
logisticians out there, man, because I don't know how you
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
Because I never feel, no, that's not true. But top 20 dirty feelings is leaving a post office. Like I just always feel like I need to go take a shower.
FedEx
You
is
know
a
what I
little
mean?
more upscale at least.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, I need to take a shower. And
That's so funny.
but
I
yeah,
feel that.
so so now you're doing this, and I think that's a great point you brought up. You brought up, entrepreneurship, because a lot of those people that do these things, I think they start out with a business, right? Now, there's probably some that start out really wanting to be entrepreneurs in general, but they find their niche. They find their niche. They exploit that, and I don't mean in a bad way, but they exploit that, and they get to the point to where they have enough money to where they can be entrepreneurs for whatever they want, right? They're no longer the guy who owns the ice cream store or the lady that owns the bakery. They're this person who is able to be an entrepreneur across multiple businesses and invest money in other people's stuff and look for potential in other people, blah, 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 right? So, do you have any advice for veterans that are interested in entrepreneurship? And so an easy one, I always call it the low hanging fruit because most of us do it. What are some common mistakes that new business owners make or that you made? And what are some easy ways to avoid them?
Let me specifically some common mistakes that I see other people in this industry specifically make, because this is my only industry. You know what I mean? I have a house that I purchased, so I guess I'm a real estate investor, but like this is what I do every day. Like I'm a watch guy no matter what. But what I see a lot of folks do when they're new here, if they have a lot of money to begin with, like I started with $2,000 and an Omega, like a little Omega Seamaster that I lost $400 on. So I guess I started with $1,700 or $1,600. But folks that come in with like a lot more money, I noticed that they just buy a ton of stock, or they'll buy like one really expensive watch. And it's tough when you have like no reputation in the beginning to sell someone an AP or a Patek, you know what I mean? Or even like a high-end Rolex, Now I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a lot easier for me to do that now because I have 2.5 years of like a decent book of business and reputation built up. So people can like look at that and be like, okay, I will purchase this $40,000-$50,000 watch from this guy because I don't think he's going to run away with it. You know what I mean? You can't fake like 2 years of freaking Instagram posts that have like my face and videos in it. Like that would be a super elaborate scam at this point. But when you're super new, if you just dump 50K into an AP and try and sell it for 60, it's hard for someone just to be like, oh yeah, here's a wire, you know? So I think whatever industry you're going in, I think you should like probably cut your teeth on the harder, more difficult stuff first, which I recommend to a lot of people, like even like Panerais, Omegas, Breitlings, Bell and Ross, like Tag Heuer, like Carreras and stuff like that. I think those are worth starting with because you learn with like a less risk of your money, one, and if you have a lot of money to begin with, you could purchase a lot of units and get a lot of practice, you know? So I think that's good. I think just common mistakes in the beginning too is like not focusing on the customer experience, you know, because I think honestly, like customer satisfaction, I think that's bullshit. You know, I feel like if you're satisfied with something, you're just like one level above, like pissed off about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
satisfied, like
And it's like,
whatever.
yeah, that's great.
No, bro, like I think you should really dial in as hard as you can on a good customer experience, even if that means you lose money. Like if I could do this all over again, I'd probably sell like 10, 20 watches to people, even at a loss. Like just give people really good deals and give them the best experience they've ever had buying a watch. Like my goal is to always like ruin any other purchase you've made across any industry when you buy something
Yeah.
from me. You know what I mean? You get like I really make the transaction like as good as I possibly can with communication, like follow-ups, like the actual item has to be really good too, because a lot of people, if they push too far to the right on that one, they'll give a really good customer experience, but they'll sell like a poorly maintained item.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like it sucks, but the answer is you have to do everything as perfectly as you can, you know? But I think just avoiding, if you have to avoid any mistakes, just avoid, I guess, putting people on the back end of like what you care about first. Like your reputation is based on like how other people perceive you, I think, in
Yeah.
this industry. So I would focus on that 100%. And don't bite off more than you can chew in the very beginning. Like learn kind of the landscape of what you're playing in before you jump into like bigger stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think that also that's a good point too, where you talk about maybe looking at other brands that, have a following that are more affordable for you to get in on
Yeah,
early because you'll
exactly.
get practical experience making the sales.
Exactly. And
You
you'll
know what I
do
mean?
more volume.
If you, yeah, you get more volume and you get more, into your groove as far as, because I always tell like I tell people all the time, man, like, look, if you got a bunch of sevens, make them nines. And if you got a bunch of twos, figure out how to make sure your twos don't screw you. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like people are like you don't like packaging, you know, watches. It's like, well, maybe you hire someone to pack the watches for you. You know what I mean? And like you just verify that they're packaged well.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yes, I mean, hiring out is a huge thing eventually, you know what I mean? But also in the beginning, I think it's cool if you learn everything yourself, you know, because now I see as I hire stuff out, it's to family, so it's easier to be like, why the fuck did you do that? You know, because
Yeah.
it's like, I love you, but like, what the hell, you know? But I needed to learn how to do it myself before I expected anybody to be able to do it to a certain standard, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Because I
That
still
makes
hate
sense a
packing,
lot.
but I still do it all the time. So now I know I could train you on how to pack a watch perfectly, but I still hate doing it.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I feel the same way about so many things. Like I don't mind emptying the dishwasher, but I don't like
Yeah,
drying off plastic stuff in the dishwasher because it gives me like it just reminds me of when I was at E1 and I was mess cranking on the ship, and it's like,
yeah,
dude, it's the worst. Like I hate the smell of wet stainless steel,
yeah,
which sounds hilarious because I have stainless steel dive watches, but
yeah,
like dude, on the ship and you work in the galley or the scullery, it's all stainless steel and it's
yep,
always wet.
yep.
It's the worst.
I feel that, man.
So we've talked about networking and how that goes, and we can always have you on, in the audience, let us know down in the show notes, but we can always, are down in the thread comments down below. We can always have you on again to talk about that. Cause I think that's something I think that could be a whole hour
Absolutely.
by itself, how to network, because I think there's a little bit of nuance to that. But if somebody was still serving right now, but wanted to prepare for business ownership, is there one or two steps that you could recommend they should take now?
Talking about like this kind of industry, if this is something that they'd be
Yeah. Or
interested in,
something that
or
you
anything, I
think
guess. Yeah,
it would apply to just general business.
yeah. Um, yeah, man. I mean, everybody always says like whatever net worth is your net worth, right? Like I do think networking is a huge, huge thing, but I think a lot of people do it wrong, where they try and like approach it and see like what they can take from people from the networking. Like, ooh, I want to go network with these really like wealthy folks and see if I could take some of their business, see if I could take something from them that'll help me improve my business. Even just being around people like that, you're always going to learn something, I think, that will benefit your business. So I think if you just come in with your guard down and just kind of be yourself and just actually try and like find common ground and like make friends with people, then you get so much further versus like
Yeah.
having this agenda and like I don't know, like it just seems like you can kind of sniff it out when someone has like an agenda
Yeah.
when they network. And it's just weird, you know what I mean? Someone told me one time it was called like sales breath. Like they smell your sales breath and I'm like that's funny because it's so real. Like it's like that invisible energy of just like this dude's trying to like get something from someone, you
Yeah.
know, versus you just show up and like yeah, dude, I'm just here. You know what I mean? Like all my
Yeah.
best, like my favorite like networking moments where I got like a lot of referrals and just like people who like wanted to do business with me was when I didn't even talk about business. I just, you know, I usually have a watch on. I'll show up in the car if I'm at like a car event or something like that, and there's already like that common ground, the commonality between people. You just talk, you just bullshit people. Me, it's like people always comment on like my ears are all like gnarled up. They're like, "Oh, dude, did you wrestle or whatever?" And we'll start that conversation, you know. But like the conversation usually always goes outside of the industry, and then once it comes back to, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I sell watches." Then it's like, "Oh my god, like
Yeah.
I have buddies that want to buy watches. Like, do you have a card or something like that?" "Sure." And I'll never like give a card unless like asked, you know, because then I think that kind of contributes to that like, "But this is what you were here for," you know, versus like maybe if it's something in passing, I'm like, "Hey, real quick, text me, man. Like, here's my stuff." But if you're at like a networking event, I think it's so important just to like be real and just talk to people, just make friends,
Yeah.
you know, and you
And
make
I think
friends
you,
by not taking stuff from people.
yeah. No, and you probably not probably you do get much better network experience from that because you know someone that genuinely likes you for who you are, you know, you tend to just have better results with that person as in general, just in general with everything you do. You know what I mean? Like you know, you and I first, you know, we shot the stuff for a little bit, then we met and we hung out. We've had coffee now multiple times, but it's like for me, it's a genuinely enjoyable
Yeah,
experience, right?
you
Like,
have to bring me back to talking about watches because I'm just gonna
yeah,
bullshit with you about whatever.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
You
mean?
know what I mean? And we just shoot the stuff about like, you know, we have things that we have a common interest and things like, you know, like I'm not a car guy, but I really do understand and appreciate cars because I know it's a whole thing, you know, and like when I see someone drive up in what you drive up in, the older one, you know, I'm not going to name names because I don't like to ID people's vehicles because we're all about
Yeah,
OPSEC on this podcast. But
appreciate that.
yeah, no worries, man. I'm here for you.
The older
But
one's my
like,
baby, man. That's my favorite.
but the thing is, like, I know enough to know like you just don't stumble across that.
Yes,
That is an automobile curation, you know,
definitely.
and it's like it's really cool. You're like, oh man, that's pretty cool, right? And it's like and I've learned a lot about cars to where I know I want eventually, and I will eventually get what I want. You know, it's fun. It's just but I think you just get more out of that, and you get a much more fulfilling experience because when you're yourself, when you're genuinely yourself, like I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but there's plenty enough people that like me, and I have wonderful relationships with those people because they take me for
Exactly.
who I am, and I
Yeah.
don't have to be anything I'm not.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
People talk about imposter syndrome. I think that's because you got to watch how I say this. People talk about imposter syndrome, but I think it's because you are trying to be an imposter, not yourself.
Yeah. I feel that.
Instead of just being yourself in the space and letting people like you or not like you, you're trying to be something you're really not, and you're not pleasing anybody. Most importantly, yourself. You're not,
That's fucking good, man.
you know what I
That's
mean?
so real. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just not. I'd rather be me and you not like me. At least I know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
You have
You know what I'm
closure.
saying?
Life's good, you know?
You know what I mean? Like it is what it is, right? So,
That's good, man.
but
That's yeah.
oh, well, I appreciate it. You know, this brain does stuff every once in a while, but
It's good
so
starting.
my last favorite question to ask anyone on the podcast, especially someone that's like got a business around anything, is as an independent watch dealer, what's your one major pet peeve that you want potential customers to know about?
This is the classic trope in like any sales industry when dudes are like, "What's your best price?" I mean, it's like one of those like trigger words for me, and I'm polite, man. I'm just like, "Hey, man, like I'm happy to take an offer." Politely, I don't want to negotiate against myself, you know. But in my
Yeah,
head, I want to just like reach through the
yeah,
phone. You know what I mean? I'm like, "What's your best offer, bro?"
yeah, yeah,
That's really it for me. Like, I don't get
yeah,
mad at it or anything like that. You could disagree without being disagreeable, right? It's one of my favorite quotes, but
yeah. No, you're right.
you just lead off like not like a hello, a good afternoon, just what's your best price? Like with a
Yeah,
firearm pointed at me, you know, and
the
it's like,
best price because you could be like, I mean, because it's also an open ended question.
what's best for me? Full price.
Yeah, I mean,
Give me full price. That's the best.
$10 less than what's listed. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
want me to say? You
I
know what
mean,
I
if you
mean?
want to give me $100 more, that would be probably the best
Yeah,
situation for me.
yeah.
Who's
That
it
would be
best
the
price for? You know?
that would be the greatest. That would be the greatest.
But yeah, I don't want
So
to
you
be
know,
like,
Bo, I just want to say thanks for coming on. I'll include all your stuff in the show notes. But Bono's Luxury on Instagram.
yeah, that's me.
Bo
That's
Knows
the
Luxury on
website too,
Instagram.
bonusluxury.com.
Yep, you
Most
check
of
him
my
out
stuff is
there.
on Instagram. I don't have the bandwidth to do all the Facebook stuff or TikTok. I just be posting on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Instagram's great. Is there any last thing you'd like to share with the audience? Some just like a tidbit, or are there any like programs or charities that you like, or anything that you recommend anyone? Book, anything?
Yeah, book, man. I'm reading The Magic of Thinking Big right now by David Schwartz, right? I'm gonna make sure I got him right. Yeah, David Schwartz is right behind me on the safe. Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. I'm not finished with the book yet, but it's one of the best books I've ever read. I'll
Oh
probably
wow.
will finish reading it and then just read it again. You know, just like I love finding one. I don't read a ton of books, but I do read enough to like see commonalities and like a bunch of different like
Mm-hmm.
nonfiction, like self-improvement, whatever, entrepreneurship kind of books. And this is one of those books that just has like everything other people write about in other books that I'm like, oh, they got it from this book, you know? So whenever I find something like that, like Think and Grow Rich is one of those books, you know, and a lot of the Napoleon Hill stuff is like that. Yeah, Magic Thinking Big is a great book. And then final closing thoughts, man. And for all like the military dudes out there, I got out as an E5. So like I mean, you can look up the pay charts. I was making like $5,000 a month in the military. And like the moment I knew I wanted to get out was when the watch business was like matching that. I was like, dude, that was my cue of like, oh my God, like this is actually possible. And it only made that much money because of like the actions that I was taking at the time, you know, and now it's like the actions that we are taking, like the team is taking. So it's like, it's possible, man. Like it doesn't have to be watches if you're not a watch person, like maybe that doesn't make sense for you. But if you're gonna do cars, if you're gonna do real estate, if you're gonna do whatever, and you're in the military, like don't get sucked into that like you have to do 20 or you have to like do one thing or another. I don't think you have to do anything. I think it's possible if this is something that you really want to do. It's not easy, and this is a passionate thing for me and I love doing it, but there's some days when it's very difficult and it's like not like I would rather do something else than take photos of a watch or polish a watch or ship something to someone that it needs to go to or deal with a client who's upset about something. But I would not change this for a fucking thing. Like this is it for me. I will do this till I die. My one regret is I named it Bo Knows Luxury, the LLC, so I can never sell this business. I'm like, I don't care because I will do this till I die. You know what I mean? So if you're in the military and you're thinking about getting out, man, it's possible. It takes a lot of work and you have to do it. But who the fuck else is going to do it?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I appreciate you having you on, Bo. Look
Thank you,
forward to
man.
having you on again in our future talks. And I like to tell everyone, have a great night. And remember, at watchrolling.com, you make the watch. The watch doesn't make you.
Damn right, I love that, dude.